One of the highlights of our summer has been able to pick our own pasta. That's what James just said. So, one of the highlights of last summer and the start of this summer has been our basil. So we've been growing our own basil from the little sort of pots that you get in supermarkets. So a friend of mine told me that you could divide those pots into bigger pots, and anyway, pretty soon you'd have tons and tons of basil. And so it has proven to be. So one of the sort of the big treats of having basil, of course, is making your own pesto. It's a really, really simple process, and it all kind of revolves around the old pestle and mortar, basically. So what I've got here is the ingredients. Got my raw ingredients here. I've got around about 40 basil leaves, or 40-50 basil leaves, something like that, like a decent sized bunch. And then I've got some garlic, which we grew on the allotment this year. So I think it's a French violet garlic strain that's kind of nice and sort of strong and sort of got a bit of depth of flavour to it. So process wise, what I'm going to do here is I've got my pasta, which is on to boil. I'm going to just cover that up there now. So a little bit of simple fusilli going into the pot there. I'm going to take my garlic first of all, and I'm going to attempt to release 2 cloves from this garlic, like this. There we go. So 2 sort of chunky cloves of garlic. So that's that. I'm going to roughly chop these. I'm going to add these to this lovely marble bowl that Jane bought me last year. People recommend these things because they're cool, and apparently in the making of pesto, it's important not to sort of to overcook the ingredients and burn them, basically, which people can do in blenders. So I'm just going to pop these into this bowl. I'm going to add some salt. About a teaspoon of salt there. And what I'm going to start to do is to use the pestle and mortar to basically release the essential oils from the garlic, and using the salt as a medium to sort of to get those oils released. And what I'm not going to do is pound it or smash it up too much. I'm going to take my time, rotate my wrist, and just make this into a paste. I'm going to turn the bowl as I go to make sure I get every last little piece of garlic. Pesto, for those of us who don't know what it means, relates to paste. So in Italian cuisine, a lot of dishes are made with the base of a sauce, which is essentially a paste, and which is made using a pestle and mortar. So that's kind of it, really. Straight away there, I've got my paste element, or the first part of the paste here. And then I'm going to start to add my unwashed basil leaves. I don't want any water in there, so these have just come straight from the plant, and they're going to go straight in here, just 1 or 2 at a time. And I'm not going to break them up too much because I don't want them getting oxidised and kind of losing colour. So I'm just going to pop a couple in there. And again, just sort of start to rotate my wrist, moving the bowl around, applying a little bit of pressure. Ooh, lovely smell being released from this now as I go. It's a smell of summer. I'm going to add a few pine nuts now. So I'm going to sort of intersperse the pine nuts with the basil leaves as I go on there for a little while. So just a few pine nuts here. I'm probably going to add a sort of a healthy handful in the end here. I'm not going to talk about measurements or anything like that. And at this point it's kind of quite a thick paste really. When I've made this in the past before, I have used a blender myself, and I've looked at pro chefs recommending that you use a blender, but I just don't think it releases the oils in the same way. So you don't get that kind of incredibly sort of pungent, amazing flavour and intense flavour that you get from the garlic and the basil in the same way. I'm going to add a little bit of oil now. It's getting a little bit on the thick side, but crucially I'm not going to add too much oil. It's just going to be a little drizzle here of half decent extra virgin olive oil. People recommend olive oils with low acidity levels. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it helps in terms of antioxidization, I believe. But I'm really more about the flavour than about the chemistry. It's quite a meditative process, I think. You sort of lose yourself a little bit in this. It's very sort of repetitive in a way. So I think from the point of view of mindfulness, it is a really nice kind of contemplative process to lose yourself in, with a really good reward at the end of it. Almost forgot this thing. So this is some Parmigiano cheese. This is kind of what's used in a classic Genovese pesto. I'm probably not going to use too much of this actually, so I'm not going to use the whole block there. And because I haven't got a grater, I'm just going to kind of chop that up really roughly, and then I'm going to pestle that in, or pestle and mortar it in. I think I'm just about done here. Right, I'm just going to have a little taste, see what I think, see if it needs any more salt. All I'm going to do now is just drain off a little bit of this water, and we're going to leave about 2 tablespoons of the water in the in the pan, because we need that to sort of to make the sauce basically when the pesto goes into it. So yeah, I've just added my big old blob of, oh that's good, of pesto, which is really thick, and now it's sort of softening up and dissolving into the starch water from the fusilli.
It is just the smell of summer. You know, if you grow basil or any herb and you brush past it, especially if it's in somewhere warm like the greenhouse or the polytunnel, and that smell, it's like that smell in a dish. Let's have a go. Now, before you start, what could your serving suggestions be if you wanted it to be?
Serving suggestions?
Well, what else could you add to it if you wanted to? Because I know you were going to add some lemon.
I think, some lemon rind, some grated lemon zest rather is good. I think. Yeah. Again, sort of pummeled into the paste.
Yeah.
Or just maybe sort of a teaspoon of lemon juice makes it a little bit sharper, a little bit tartar.
But on this occasion, we're sticking with the basics.
We've just stuck with the basics.
Okay, let's have a go. That's good. It's all down the front of your arm.
I think it's good, but I think I could have used more basil. I think I could have used more basil in there. I still have got more basil. But it's absolutely delicious.
That's incredible. It doesn't taste like anything you would get from the shops. We say it time and time again, when you grow your own food, it's not so much about saving money, it's that intensity of flavour that you get from growing and picking your own food and having it that fresh. This is just, I mean, even the garlic,
well, that
was still, but that was still green. It hasn't cured properly yet, has it? So even the garlic's got that intense creaminess, isn't it? You know, and the fact that you did it for so long in the pestle and mortar, that's really, really released the oils. So yeah, it was interesting. I saw a video the other day about someone making a different sort of pesto, and it didn't have any basil in. I think it was just garlic, bread that had been soaked in vinegar, and then using that motion of the pestle and mortar, making it into a paste, and almost like had it as a dip, you know,
with fries.
But it was still pesto, because we tend to think of pesto as just being basil. I mean, we could have used spinach.
We could have used rocket.
You could put a bit of mint in it, I suppose, if you wanted to, couldn't you?
If you want to save money on these things, and you can see there's quite a lot left over there. You could probably make another 2 batches actually with one little pack of pine nuts, and probably 1 block of parmesan like that. Probably do you for about 6 servings, I think.
Yeah.
But to save money on pine nuts, you can use walnuts,
almonds.
Almonds, toasted almonds. People even use cashew nuts, although I think they go quite dry for me.
Yeah.
But Elizabeth David, the famous cookery writer, recommended walnuts if you couldn't get pine nuts, and I think that does work well.
Well, Mike, I'm going to give you a big old pat on the back. Because you've done really well. Don't you think he's done well? I think, honestly, it's the first time as well that we've set up a little cooking station in this shed, so poor old Mike's been a bit of a guinea pig there. But if you would like to see more of Mike's cookery shows, put a comment in the
Could my title be Mike's Cookery Nook?
Put a comment in the comment section below. You know, did you like it? Have you got a top tip on pesto? Give us a subscribe, hit the like button, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.